Okay, so we have traveled through much of the neuron. We have started at this end where it's at rest. We've started with graded potentials that occur on the cell body and the axon hillock area. And then we talked about the triggering of an action potential in the initial segment and how that is propagated down the length of the axon. Now we're going to move to the very end. What happens when this electrical signal reaches the tips of the neuron? How does one neuron cause something to happen in the neighboring neuron? As a reminder, keep in mind that we do have to have communication between neurons. We are going from sensation, receptors pick it up, nervous impulse travels, and then that signal has to be transferred from at least one neuron to another until eventually you get a signal sent to the effectors, which respond. Okay, so in your homework lesson, you have a number of things to help you get familiar with this structure called the synapse. So in your notes, it asks you which structure allows the action potential to travel from one neuron to another, from one adjacent neuron to another. That is the synapse. Okay. So these are some things that help you to get familiar with it. And now I'm going to begin an active learning exercise that also shows you the structures of a synapse and what does this synapse look like before the action potential reaches it. We'll then move through the next part of what happens next on the next page. Okay. So what we're going to do now is we're going to draw the structures, the important structures of the synapse and talk about a couple more concepts associated with that. So the first thing we have is, let's just have the axon coming down here, okay, in the corner of the paper. So inside these two lines is the axon. And now we've reached this end of the axon right here. Okay, so we can call this the axon terminal. Inside this axon terminal are going to be vesicles. And these vesicles are going to be filled with a chemical called neurotransmitter. You've heard of that before. This right here is showing you that it is neurotransmitter. Okay. So we'll put more neurotransmitter. Okay. Now this whole neuron is called the presynaptic neuron. Let's look at the word. We've got pre, which means before, and synaptic. So it's the neuron that is before the synapse. Okay, so this is neuron number 1. That means the action potential will travel down this neuron first. Now, let's go here to the other neuron. Okay, so this here, we're looking at the cell body, the dendrites of the postsynaptic neuron. So everything in here is postsynaptic neuron. Okay, this is its cell membrane, this black line. You have this gap across here. This is literally a gap. These two things generally do not touch. You'll find some exceptions. They're listed in your book, but we're going through the most common. So there's a gap, and this gap is called the synaptic cleft. And this whole thing together, where one neuron meets another with a little gap in between, is called the synapse. Now, there's a couple of other things that you need to put in the correct locations. One, we've got a new channel. It's called the voltage-gated calcium channel. We haven't heard of that one before. That goes in the membrane of the presynaptic neuron. Now we have our old friend that we've seen before, the chemical-gated sodium channel. That's going to go in the membrane. And remember, this is going to be cell body, axon hillock area. It's going to go in the cell membrane of the postsynaptic neuron. We also need to get our ions in the correct places. We've got sodium high outside the cell. This cleft is outside the cell, so sodium can be high in the cleft. And we're also going to have calcium. Calcium is outside of the cell. It can also be in this cleft. There's one other thing in the cleft that I will talk about later. I want to put it here now, and then we're going to ignore it. And that's this thing. It's a molecule that hydrolyzes, breaks apart neurotransmitter. Your book labels it as ACHE, or acetylcholine esterase. That also goes in this cleft. Okay? So this is how things start before action potential ever reaches the end of the presynaptic cell. This is our starting point. So I would practice going through, drawing this, make sure you know where everything begins, because in the next video we're going to start moving pieces.